छाया सत संगा देह है हमारे, छाया सत संगा देह है हमारे, बोसे चे संगेरा से, बोसे चे संगेरा से, एकाकी आमा नहीं पाया बाला, एकाकी आमा नहीं पाया बाला, हरि नामा संकीर्तने, हरि नामा संकीर्तने, तुम्हें कृपा करे श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया, तुम्हें कृपा करे श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया, देहो कृष्ण नाम धाने, देहो कृष्ण नाम धाने, देहो कृष्ण नाम धाने, कृष्ण से तुमा कृष्ण दीते पारो, कृष्ण से तुमा कृष्ण दीते पारो, तुम्हारा शक्ति आछे, तुम्हारा शक्ति आछे, आमी तो गंगा कृष्ण कृष्ण बोले, आमी तो गंगा कृष्ण कृष्ण बोले, आमी तो गंगा कृष्ण कृष्ण बोले, दाई तबा पाछे पाछे, दाई तबा पाछे पाछे, दाई तबा पाछे पाछे, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, Jai Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jai Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Vinod. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Radhe. Jai Gauranitai, 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 Jai Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Lavai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप श्री मायपुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माँ यमुना माई की जय। वृंद देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. The Most Merciful Lordship Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki jai. The Most Merciful Lordship Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. The Most Merciful Lordship Sri Sri Gaunithai ki jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta ki jai. Nithai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Gaurang, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Everyone understands English, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, being Ekadasi, we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. This is volume 1, chapter 8. Entitled New Delhi, Crying Alone in the Wilderness. I'm going to read some section from this, and then if I feel inspired, I'll say something and then read further, and then say something and read further and say something within the time. I hope it is okay. I've got the clue of going back to Godhead just after leaving my present material body, and in order to take along with me all my contemporary men and women of the world, I've started my paper Back to Godhead as one of the means to the way. Please don't think of me as something wonderful or a madman when I say that I shall go back to Godhead after leaving my present material body. It's quite possible for everyone and all of us. From a letter to India's President, Mr. Rajendra Prasad. When Abhay arrived in Mathura, he sought out Keshav Maharaj, who was now establishing his matha, and presented him with the deity of Lord Chaitanya. At Keshav Maharaj's request, Abhay agreed to stay there and edit the Gaudiya Patrika. Abhay was given a room, and for the first time, aside from brief visits, he lived in a matha with his godbrothers. As a senior experienced devotee, Abhay held classes and instructed the brahmacharis who were young, uneducated, and even illiterate in the disciplines of devotional service and the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. He had only recently begun his duties when Bhakti Saranga Goswami, another sannyasi godbrother, asked Bhaktivedanta Prabhu to assist him in New Delhi at his ashram, Gaudiya Sangha. Both Keshav Maharaj and Bhaktisaranga Goswami recognized Abhay as an accomplished writer and editor and wanted to work with him. It was accepted among Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhu was an expert preacher and writer, whether in English, Hindi or Bengali. Now Keshav Maharaj wanted Abhay to stay and work on the Gaudiya Patrika, while Bhaktisaranga Maharaj, who had to go to Bengal, was requesting him to come to Delhi to produce the harmonist, known in Hindi as Sajjana Toshini. Abhay was agreeable to Bhaktisaranga Goswami's proposition, and Keshav Maharaj consented, on the condition that Abhay also continue to edit the Gaudiya Patrika, at least by mail. As an editor, Abhay was in his element, and he was happy to preach in cooperation with his god brothers. Although Abhay did not consider himself an accomplished scholar or author, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had been pleased by his writings and had encouraged him to continue. And now these senior sannyasis of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati were turning to him for help. They were practically competing to see who would get the benefit of his services. Perhaps Abhay thought this should be his life's work, serving humbly under the direction of his god brothers. His ejection from Jhansi had been a kind of setback. At least it had left him temporarily unsure of how Krishna wanted to use him. But now his god brothers seemed to be answering the question. Living and working in an ashram with brahmacharis and sannyasis was a way of life Abhay had once considered too austere. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had remarked, better he live outside your company. But now he would either have to struggle alone with nothing or stay with the shelter of a friendly portion of the Gaudiya Math. Perhaps he could carry out his desires to preach Krishna consciousness within the ashram of his god brothers. Since he would soon be editor of Sajjana Toshini, he began thinking of how to expand it. It was a scholarly Vaishnava journal, but cheaply produced and with a very limited circulation. He envisioned it surpassing India's slick illustrated weekly. It should be more popular than Time or Life magazines of America. And why not? Krishna was no poor man. Abhay thought of how he could start an ambitious subscription program by approaching the many prominent and wealthy men of New Delhi. Then by Krishna's grace, he would soon be able to print color photos and use high quality paper for Sajjana Toshini. He would give it his best effort depending on Krishna, and while soliciting subscribers, he could take his book manuscripts and try to get them published. Dr. Alagappa in South India had wanted to publish his Gita Upanishad. No doubt there were many men like him, or perhaps Bhaktisaranga Goswami would be willing to publish Abhay's works with funds from the Gaudiya Sangha. We'll continue. Om Janati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarobhyasya Kripa Sindhubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langaite Giri Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatharinam. So firstly, I am very happy to be here amongst all the enthusiastic young devotees, bright-faced. I was to come every month, but somehow last month it was not possible for various reasons. So we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. It's very important. When you see a tall building, people who are in building making, they will appreciate the foundation. Others may be able to appreciate the external manifestation of the building. But people who are into construction, they will definitely appreciate the foundation, because for such a tall building to stand, there must be strong foundation. So in the same way, today we are living in such opulent temples, all of us, absolutely the finest of facilities that we have. But you know how much struggle went behind? Our founder Acharya at one time, what kind of situation he was facing, what kind of conditions that he was living in. This Lilamrta will tell us. This is one of the most heart-rending, in fact it is heart-breaking, this portion of the Lilamrta, that how Srila Prabhupada struggled alone. It seemed that he was a failure because he could not succeed in that place, Jhansi, where he founded a league of devotees. There were a lot of politics in that place. Finally, he was ejected from that place. So now, he is not with his family because he left the family. You know the story why he left the family. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shri Shri Gaunithai Ki Jai. He left the family because his family was not cooperating to his practicing and preaching of Krishna consciousness. And it has reached a great height when his wife sold the Bhagavatam for tea biscuits. So he didn't know what to do. So he left. And when he left the home, he left with such a determination that I'm not going to come back to this place anymore. Because his whole mission was to preach Krishna consciousness according to his spiritual master's request. So now he came to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, he found this God brother who is very favorable, Keshav Maharaj. In fact, later you will find that he took sannyas from Keshav Maharaj. And there is another God brother of his, Bhakti Saranga Maharaj, also was very favorable. So he came, he didn't know what is Krishna's plan. Each one of us must go through this phase. This is the foundation for our life, this phase. We should know where my life is going, what is Krishna's indication for my life. If you cannot think within your own heart, what is my purpose, what is Krishna's direction for me, you will not become a strong devotee. And Srila Prabhupada became such a powerful, great Acharya because he went through all of this. Temporarily it may seem that, he is one insignificant person, nobody bothers about him. There is a big Gaudiya Matha was carrying out the operations of Krishna conscious preaching of the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's vision. What this man will do alone? No. He had such strong faith in his spiritual master's instructions, and he has strong urge to serve Krishna, serve his spiritual master from the beginning. So such a person is unstoppable practically. It's just a time. And everyone needs right time to flourish. So Srila Prabhupada right now is going through such difficult phase where he has sought his god brother's help. Now, sometimes, because when we are in this moment, ISKCON moment, you will get to hear from others. So that is why I'm speaking these words. You will get to hear that Swami Prabhupada, he deviated from Gaudiya Math, which was established by his spiritual master. He left and he started his own mission like ISKCON. People will say, because there are a lot of people outside who simply has no business but to criticize, that's all. They cannot see good work. They are simply interested in fault finding. Professional fault finders. There are so many people out there. And by your own misfortune, if you can get caught with such people, your whole spiritual life will be finished. So when people say, you should know in your own heart, Prabhupada was always interested to cooperate with his god brothers. Just see in these few lines it was written. He thought that now Krishna is giving him direction that he should be with his god brothers. Under the supervision of his god brothers, he can do whatever little work that Krishna has given him, a little service that he can do. So it was not Prabhupada's desire to establish a separate mission. If Gaudiya Math was actually cooperating with each other, if they were not fighting with each other, he would have continued to assist his god brothers and then brought the Gaudiya Math to where he has brought ISKCON to. But the problem was that these people were quarrelsome. Amongst the god brothers, there was a big fight after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left. Everybody established their own mathas. So Prabhupada didn't know, one person is calling this side, another person is calling that side. Others, they don't even invite him, even if he wants to do service. So that is why he thought, what is the favorable portion of Gaudiya Math where he can offer his services? And Prabhupada is a great preacher, a great editor, a literary man, because if you recall, first time Prabhupada wrote one offering, Vyasa Puja offering to his spiritual master. In that Vyasa Puja offering, there were two lines which greatly attracted Bhaktisiddhanta. And those two lines were, absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast removed. These are the two sentences. Bhaktisiddhanta was not there when he was offering. He was reading the offering in the Gaudiya Math when all his god brothers were there. But Bhaktisiddhanta was not there at that time. So somebody took this offering. He wrote a poem. In the poem, these two lines attracted Bhaktisiddhanta. When he wrote the whole poem, these two lines popped out as something very, very wonderful. Why? Because the whole mission of Bhaktisiddhanta was absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Means absolute truth is not some Shakti or some imperson or something like that. Absolute is sentient. Absolute is a person. He is a Vyakti, not Shakti. Who is God? God is Vyakti, not Shakti. So you have proved that. Prabhupada said, absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast removed. The greatest obstacle for Krishna conscious preaching or practice is the impersonal contamination that is there in our heart. So he said, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. Bhaktisiddhanta was overjoyed to read these two sentences. And you know what was the expression of Bhaktisiddhanta after reading these two sentences? He told all his disciples, whatever Abhay Babu writes, you can print it in the Harmonist. This was his instruction. So, that was the brilliance of Srila Prabhupada. He was a very sincere core preacher. He understands Krishna consciousness to the core. So, the way he writes, the way he edits, you see his vision. Prabhupada never wanted to do anything superficial. He did not think that, anyway, I am not the head of this matha, so why should I think of, putting all my heart in this? He thought, even though somebody else was the head, he thought, let me put my own effort to bring this magazine to the highest level. And what he was thinking, the Harmonist should be such magazine, it should compete or it should be on the level of the Illustrated Weekly or the Times magazine or Life's magazine in America. You can imagine what kind of vision that he had. So he wanted to put his full effort in doing that. So no one can blame Prabhupada that he did not assist his god brothers, he did not cooperate with his god brothers, he always had a separatist mentality. No one can blame, because he has put his full heart in this. Even though some of the god brothers did not recognize his greatness, his exalted Vaishnava position, still Prabhupada did not bother and mind. He continued his service. So now, we'll further read how Prabhupada was treated by some of the ashram mates in Delhi. Abhay soon received a letter from Bhakti Saranga. Is that where I have to start from? Yeah. Abhay soon received a letter from Bhakti Saranga Goswami's assistant, carefully instructing him how to travel to Delhi at the least expense. He was to travel by train 3rd class to Delhi and from there take a tanga. Since tangas at the station gate charged too much, Abhay should first walk about 100 meters towards the right hand side of the station, where he would find a cheaper one. When to ride alone, he should pay no more than 1 rupee and 12 annas, but he should try to share the tanga with another passenger. That would be cheaper. Keeping the crematorium to your left hand side, the assistant instructed him, if you look towards the right, then you will be able to see our red flag and the signboard written in Hindi and English. When you reach here, we will pay for the tanga. At the Gaudiya Sangha, Abhay found a disconcerting state of affairs. In the absence of their guru Bhakti Saranga Goswami, the brahmacharis were quarreling and shirking their duties. And as a result, the preaching and donation gathering were being neglected. Cleanliness, deity worship, cooking, and even peace amongst the devotees were below standard. And like most of the mutts of his god brothers, the Gaudiya Sangha was poor. Abhay had come thinking he would be editing a magazine, but he found himself, am I right, reading the right one? Abhay had come thinking he would be editing a magazine, but he found himself contending with a group of quarreling neophyte devotees. He learned that the brahmachari responsible for giving public lectures had not done any preaching. The devotees who had previously been holding kirtans in people's home were now negligent. And the errand boy refused to run because he had lost his bicycle. Then a brahmachari handed Abhay a letter from Bhakti Saranga Goswami requesting him to take up the general management of the matha. Inspire everyone to be engaged in service. Otherwise, I do not know how we are going to print the English monthly magazine. Since we don't have much money in the fund, and since the brahmacharis are quite careless, Akinchana Maharaj wrote that he is unable to take the responsibility of the management. It will be very nice if you could keep your eyes on these affairs. And Abhay found other obstacles in trying to produce Sajjana Toshini, no typewriter and bad relations with the printer. In a few days, Abhay received another letter from Bhaktisaranga Goswami, telling him what articles to print, cautioning him not to change essential elements in the magazine, and reminding him of his special duty. I have asked Akinchan Maharaj to hand over the keys of my room to you so that you may use my room only for your office work. As you are there, you try to maintain peace in the ashram for giving necessary instructions to one and all. Abhay saw that he could do no editorial work until the laxity and petty quarreling in the ashram stopped. But when he tried to help the Bhaktisaranga Goswami had dictated, as Bhaktisaranga Goswami had directed, some of the devotees rebelled and even wrote to their spiritual master complaining. It was again many obstacles that Abhay met. The publisher's deadline for the August 1955 issue of Sajjana Toshini. Yet, owing to the printer's delay, the magazine did not come out until September. When at last the first copies were delivered, Abhay sent several to Bhaktisaranga Goswami in Calcutta, asking for his response. Abhay never heard from his godbrother directly, but received further instructions from Bhaktisaranga Goswami's secretary, Ramananda, who pointed out various mistakes in the issue without mentioning whether Bhaktisaranga had been pleased with it. The errors were mostly technical matters of style. Abhay had done the content space in a different way and had not printed Bhaktisaranga Goswami's name exactly as he had wanted it on all his articles. Regarding Abhay's request for a typewriter, Ramananda wrote that if matters are distinctly written, there is no necessity of them being given to the printer in typewriting. This is something which is very instructive for all of us, especially those who are staying in the ashram. How in the ashram, if you don't have a clear goal, many people join the ashram for simply passing time. And when such people actually join the ashram for passing time, what is going to happen? They are going to quarrel with each other. So at that time also, you'll find, at that time if you find, what to speak of now? At that time there were no mobile phones, there were no modern gadgetries. Still people were fighting with each other at that time. Of course, at that time some of the brahmachari mates were illiterate. They were just new people. So, in the ashram in Delhi, there was a lot of quarrels that were going on in the ashram. And the person who was in charge was Akinchan Maharaj. And he was not able to manage the whole affairs there. And Bhaktisaranga Goswami, who was the godbrother of Prabhupada, he was traveling to different places. So, there was a lot of unrest in the ashram. It's very difficult to maintain cooperation in Kali Yuga. Kali means age of quarrel. Kali means age of quarrel and age of hypocrisy. So unless the leadership is very, very, very strong, it's very difficult to maintain peace and unity amongst the devotees. It's difficult to manage one ashram. You can imagine how Prabhupada managed the whole world. What it must be for Prabhupada to manage the whole world. Different class of people were joining when he established ISKCON. Americans, Europeans, Africans, Indians, all kinds of people were coming and joining, and everyone is a crackpot. Everyone has his own independent mentality, how he should do, what he should do and all that. So it's very difficult to bring all of them to one platform. And I'm sure each one of us who are in the management position, they know how difficult it is to manage. My friends in management, they would say management is ever pregnant, never delivery. This is the expression of management. At least a pregnant woman can expect delivery within 9 months. But ISKCON manager will never be delivered. He cannot die also, he cannot live also. That is the management. So you can see here, this Akinchana Maharaj, he was not able to manage because there are a lot of quarrels amongst the neophyte devotees. And when you are quarreling, what happens is that your whole focus for which you joined the brahmachari ashram is lost. I am sure a lot of you are full-time devotees here. Probably some of you may be congregation devotees serving here. So when you joined as a full-time member, what inspired you to join this mission? I remember when I joined, although there were great prospects outside, but I thought the best service I can do to humanity is only this. This is the platform that Srila Prabhupada has showed to render the best service to the humanity. There is nothing better than this. With that conviction I joined. And still I hold that same conviction with an increased intensity. Because over so many years, I see how simple things they cannot catch. Now the ability of people to understand simple things is also lost. When I joined as a young brahmachari, there was at least some ability to understand things. Today our minds have become too low, too mean, too occupied with sense gratification, too much negative absorption. This is how our minds are. So the positive things do not go in. So as a result, what happens is that there will be a lot of quarrel, a lot of firefighting, a lot of backbiting. All these kind of things happen in ashram. It becomes very difficult for the ashram head to maintain such people. Because at least in an outside world, everybody is limited to their own house. But in an ashram atmosphere, everybody is closely connected, closely sitting, staying in the same ashram. In such close contact, it is very difficult. So Prabhupada saw that in this ashram, everyone is quarreling, and then his purpose to come here was to edit that Sajjana Toshani, or the harmonist. But he got himself in the midst of all of this. And then on top of that, his godbrother said, Bhaktisaranga Goswami said, you manage the ashram because the previous manager was not able to manage. You please manage. I can identify my life like this. You know why? Because when I came to Hyderabad in 1999, for what purpose I came? I came to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is what I came for. I went to Bombay, and there was one Narmada Maharaj. I showed him my translation of teachings of Queen Kunti to Telugu. So he saw the first chapter that I had translated. He was very impressed. And he said that the Telugu translation and printing goes on in Hyderabad, so you go there. So I came there. And when I came there, fortunately Anandamaya Prabhu was there. Anandamaya Prabhu was overseeing, but because he was not a Telugu man, he was a French man. He was one of the very sincere disciples of Srila Prabhupada who stayed in Hyderabad from the time he joined. He was very happy because finally he saw one Telugu man assisting him. So when I came, he immediately said, okay, very good. I am happy that they have sent you. So I will appoint you as BBD Development Manager. So immediately the title also came, BBT Development Manager. So I printed my cards, and there were a lot of things were going on in the ashram. because the people were stealing money in the name of, petrol bills and this and that. There were some of the goons who were staying there. I mean, I shouldn't be saying because it is being recorded, I know very well, but this is the history. I know, I personally witnessed this. Now, my nature is whenever I see something wrong goes on, I put my finger. That is my nature. Even though that was not my business. My business was to actually translate Chaitanya Lilamrta. But when I saw these people are quarreling, not only that, we were not getting sufficient space for storing books also there. So I had to talk to Gopal Krishna Maharaj, requesting him that the management was not cooperative. Please give us some space where we wanted to store our books. Some office space is required, some computers are required. So these things I had to quarrel so much. While quarreling, I was absorbed into that quarreling. This work of translation was gone. And in ISKCON what happens? If you are quarreling too much against the management, you will be put in the management. This is the secret of, getting into management. If anybody wants to get into management, keep fighting, you will be put in the management. Am I right? Isn't it? Everybody who is experienced in the management, they know very well. So I've been put into the management, and then this is like, that man, the Guru has asked the man to, read Bhagavad Gita daily. So the man kept the Bhagavad Gita, beside his head while sleeping. Then one rat came, it took away some of the pages, bit some of the pages. Then the man thought that, my Guru Maharaj has asked me to read Bhagavad Gita, but the rat came, so to take care of the rat, I must get a billy or cat. So he got a cat. So he was taking care of a cat. But the problem is that you have to give milk to the cat, no? So then he brought cow. He brought a cow. But who will take care of the cow? So somebody is put to take care of the cow. But that somebody was demanding money. So he thought that, I cannot give money, so better I get married so that my wife will take care of the cow, I will take care of reading Bhagavad Gita. So then he got married. So when he got married, children were there now. So Bhagavad Gita has gone somewhere. So he was managing the children, wife, family, got into it. So I found myself like that also. I came for translation of Chaitanya Lilamrta, sucked into the management, and now it is 25 years past and still stuck. Prabhupada will not be stuck like that, by the way. Prabhupada, he came for, editing the Harmonist, and then he saw people were quarreling with each other. And the nature of this world is that if you instruct or if you try to suggest someone who is not doing right, they'll become rebellious. You will become their permanent enemy. Because people would not like to change. They don't like to change. The sign of a good man is, if you are not doing right and someone who is suggesting you to do right, you will accept it. That is the sign of a good man. And the sign of bad man is that you justify what you do. So there is a sutra. The young people who want to know the sutra, if you justify, you cannot purify. This is the sutra. Justification will not bring purification. What is justification? Hey, why are you doing like this? Then he will give an explanation why he is doing like that, instead of accepting it. So that is the state of affairs of a neophyte. You know what is the meaning of neophyte? Neophyte means new fight. Is called a neophyte. Every day, new fight is called a neophyte. So generally Kali Yuga Prabhava is there on us, so we try to fight with each other on petty things, small things, forgetting what for we have joined the ashram. I am sure all the people who join the ashram are sincere people, but Kali Yuga is that, you get sidelined, you get sidetracked because of various things. So your original mission for which you have joined is gone. So it is the duty of the management or duty of the leader to bring back that inspiration for which he joined the ashram. And it is a very tough job because he has to put that thought process into his mind and then introduce that thought process into the devotee's mind. So it is definitely tough. So Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, he found himself in a very difficult atmosphere there. He had such plans for this magazine, but unfortunately he was found in this quarrelsome atmosphere in this New Delhi ashram. So Prabhupada wrote back. Abhay wrote to Bhakti Saranga Goswami requesting him, we are going to complete this after this reading. Is that okay? We are about time? Abhay wrote to Bhakti Saranga Goswami requesting him to return to Delhi and establish a peaceful atmosphere in the matha. Regarding Sajjanatoshani, Bhakti Saranga Goswami had suggested that the paper for the cover be improved and the whole magazine be done on nicer paper by an up-to-date press, and Abhay agreed, but improvements depended on money. The suggestion that the paper may be printed from Calcutta is all right, but my suggestion is that either in Calcutta or in Delhi, we must have our own press with good equipment so that we may be able to broadcast the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all the important languages, especially in Hindi and in English. Hindi is meant for all India propaganda, while English is meant for the worldwide propaganda. Abhay further reported that since it was almost impossible to expect a printer to work speedily from handwritten manuscripts, he had already rented a typewriter. He also mentioned his ideas for increasing the number of subscribers. So, see the kind of situation that Prabhupada was in. To give it to the printer, you have to type it, because printer is not going to ask you every day, sit with me and then see what is this. So you have to have a typewriter and then you type it and send it to the printer. But the secretary of Bhakti Saranga Goswami was telling Prabhupada, no need to get a printer and typewrite it and then send it to the printer. You write it nicely so that the printer will be able to understand it. That was the condition that he was in. Today we are in what kind of a pace? Printing is as easy as anything. Today almost people stopped writing, I think. Isn't it now? I don't think anybody writes anymore with hand. Everybody either in mobile or in computer, tuck, 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 tuck. As a result of which, now there is a mobile language, dirty language. They don't write YOU, they write you. Everything has become shortcut now. No Hare Krishna, HK. Pamho. Please accept my humble obeisances has become Pamho. All glories to Srila Prabhupada has become AGSTP. So like this it has become. So it's not a very good thing. There is a beauty in writing. In those days, when we were writing letters to loved ones, when I was in my engineering, I used to write letters to my father, and my father would write letters back to me. And there is an anticipation and a great amount of anticipation when the letter will come, the reply will come. Those things are gone now. You write something very, very fast, send. Immediately after that, reply comes. So action, reaction, action, reaction. So it's like bombing, You send a bomb. We call it as email missiles. In our management meetings, you send one mail, another mail will come immediately. So it is like a missile sending. Things have become like that. The beauty of writing with hand, the beauty of anticipation, all of that is gone. We are living in a very bad age, to be honest with you. And especially the millennium kids I'm talking about. You know who are the millennium kids? I think most of you are millennium kids only. Millennium kids are those who are born after 2000. They are millennium kids. They are digital fellows. The digital kids. They have not seen. Fortunately, we have seen the both sides of the story. That side and this side also we have seen. We were in that Sandhi Kala. But some of you have not seen what. Today if you ask any fellow, who is Rama, which cartoon hero he is, he will say, Lord Rama. That kind of a thing is going on. So anyway, then if you think like that, what is going on? It was in 1955. This episode is in 1955. How non-advanced the situation was, primitive the situation was, and how Prabhupada struggled very hard to actually establish Krishna consciousness at that time, trying to cooperate with his God brothers. So there is a lot to say, but we don't have much of time. And let me see if you have any comment or question on what we have already discussed so far. Anyone has anything? Yes?
Prabhuji, you told that when we give justification, there won't be purification.
Yes.
But many times this may be genuine case, and the senior devotee who is telling us something, he may not know.
He may not know the full story.
Yeah, so we may need to explain.
You may have to give your own story.
Explain everything, so.
You should understand, you cannot explain everything. You can only give your side of the story. There is always more than one side of the story. If you expect your superior to hear only your side of the story, which you claim to be full side of the story, that means you are wrong. There is always two sides. Your perception, others' perception. So you can present your perception and not demand that to be the full perception. You can give your side of the story and then its rest is up to that person. And if he is a reasonable man, he will not hear from one side. This is for managers. Never take decisions by hearing one side of the story. Never take decisions. Mostly you will go wrong if you take decisions by hearing one side of the story. You should hear all sides of the story and then come to a conclusion.
My another question is, Prabhuji, that many times when we, when in a situation to correct someone, so they don't take it in a correction way, and then they try to give always some as you said, some justification. Always some justification. Then what to do in that way?
That means we have not actually earned enough respect from them. That is how I take it. When I say something to someone and if that person is not ready to hear, I have not earned sufficient respect from them so that they can actually accept it on my face value. I have to work on myself more. And better not to explain to that person at that time. At a later time when that person is not in the heat of justification, explain to that person, then there is a great likelihood that person may receive your suggestion. We all have the mentality of defensive mentality. When somebody says something, you immediately want to bounce back and then prove that you are right. So when somebody is in the heat of that moment, nothing works. Let him cool down. After some time you point out, there is a great likelihood that he may hear. But we are no less, na? He puts his point, we put our point. So this goes on. Anything else?
Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned nowadays we have become so low-minded and negative-minded also. And sometimes it happens when we get some services also. So we only see problems rather than looking opportunity. What can go good, we only see how the things can go in a negative way or in a bad way. And that's how we don't get the motivation to do the service. So how we can overcome such things?
To get out of such situation, we need to have good association. Inspiring association should be there. Every one of us should have a person who can pat on our back and say, my dear brother, I had gone through this situation, don't worry, I am with you. If you don't have such solacing association, it's practically impossible to swim against the current. Practically impossible. So a genuine friend or a superior, because for us, the gurus are not all the time available in a such close proximity. Even if you go to Guru is surrounded by so many people. So you need friends. Not just a foolish friend, but a person who has elevated consciousness, who had dealt with these things. That is your wealth to actually cross these obstacles, cross this low mentality that we have borrowed from others. We have our own, but because of the bad association, we also borrow it from others. We get too much influenced by the negativity than the positivity. Both are there. If we want, we can be influenced by the positivity, but because we are conditioned souls, our naturally mind goes to negativity only. That's what attracts. The whole sensationalizing of the media and all this is all about this only. Negative, 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 negative. The whole absorption is negative. It's very difficult. So you have to have good association. So study Srila Prabhupada's books very carefully. Discuss with another enthusiastic devotee. Unless this positive absorption goes into the heart, it's very difficult to stand this negativity around us. Is it making sense? Yes.
Prabhu, you have mentioned that each and every devotee will go through the phase which Prabhupada has. So, during those times, how a devotee should reflect or how he should respond, can you throw some light on that, Prabhu?
Firstly, every devotee, those who go through such situations, they should deeply pray to Krishna by chanting very deeply. That is point number one. Point number two is they should have good association. If these two are not there, you are not sure what Krishna is suggesting to you. You'll all be in the state of mental speculation only. Then you'll always think, what is advantageous for me? What is my benefit in this? If I go to this temple beneficial, go to that temple beneficial. Who will offer more facilities and money? I will go there. All kinds of thoughts will come. You'll not think, what for actually I have dedicated my life. So, I have seen in my own life and in some of the devotees' life, when they are in a crossroads, they were very intensely depending on Krishna, offering prayers. And they were not taking decisions immediately. They were giving some time for the decision to come out, or for that Krishna's inspiration to come out. They were taking some time. They were not very reactive to situations. If you are reactive, you will not get right inspiration to act. Especially life-changing decisions or long-term decisions. Not that in the breakfast, what should I eat? That doesn't require a long-term decision. What should I eat? Upma, or should I eat idli or this? That you don't have to. But if you have to, change your direction of your life. Suppose if a brahmachari is contemplating whether I should get married, don't take decision immediately. Or Prabhupada took such a decision of leaving the family after so much time. He didn't just take the decision. So many indications were coming. So finally he took the decision. Or even taking sannyas. Or leaving a job. Or doing something. Or contemplating another kind of a work. All these things are major decisions in life which affects our Krishna consciousness. So we should not be reactive to these decisions. We should pray, we should become humble. We should know that we can easily be swayed away by our polluted intelligence. We have speculative mind we have. We need good association. We need blessings of the Lord. We need true inspiration from Paramatma. All these factors, we have to be patient enough to draw this. Otherwise, if you are in too much hurry, you will get a bad decision, which will make you suffer a lot later. Certain things cannot be undone in life. I can tell you this much. Certain things cannot be undone. So better be careful before you take such decision. So I would emphasize these two aspects: sincere deep prayers and definitely a good association, not a generic association. Someone who is actually your well-wisher, someone who really, cares for you, loves you, at the same time, vast knowledge and Krishna consciousness. If you have such association, you are fortunate. That will help.
Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, you gave the example of that student who is supposed to read Gita, but now he is in the blunder of managing the cat, cow, and family, all that.
Right.
So, if in case we are in this situation, so what should be the reaction? Because now I have done the blunder. I forgot reading Gita. I have done the blunder, and I cannot suddenly turn towards Gita because I have to care for my family.
Suddenly?
I cannot certainly turn towards reading Gita because now I have to take care of my cat and family. So how can I, in continuing the example, how can I reach to the goal which I have set, like reading Gita example in this situation?
At least don't keep the Gita as it is in the shelf. Keep it outside. Now and then you can see Gita. This fellow, he was keeping the Gita next to his bed. But after got married, it has gone somewhere else. That means your goal should be around you. You should be every day thinking about the goal. Number one. See, all of us don't actually know the power of good association. You have to have a friend, a good devotee friend. 3 people are required for everyone. A good devotee superior, a good devotee friend, a good devotee dependent. These 3 people should always be there in everybody's life. They will actually help you to be Krishna conscious. So check whether you have a good devotee superior. They may be there, but whether your relationship with that person is good enough. Whether you have a good friend, someone you are preaching to, whether you have an opportunity to discuss deeper things with that person. Is there anyone sincere coming to you or anyone coming to you with a stamp? Sign kar do. ये sign kar do वाले हैं ना, बहुत careful रहो. They don't want you, they want your signature. It is like the original problem. We don't want Krishna, we don't want Krishnas. What is Krishnas? Everything but Krishna. That is called Krishnas. Duryodhana Arjun mentality. Arjun wanted Krishna. Duryodhana wanted Krishnas. Whole Krishna consciousness is this only. 2 words. Krishna, Krishnas. That's all. That is all Krishna consciousness is. Whether you want Krishna, Krishnas. Somebody may say, I want both Krishna and Krishnas. Because we're 2 smart fellows, na? Huh? That third option doesn't exist, because if you have Krishna, you have Krishnas. But if you have Krishnas, it is not necessary that you have Krishna. That's all Krishna consciousness is. So we have to think in the direction. What is that I want? Why am I doing all this? All this tamasha is going on in my life for what? What was the original inspiration for which I have come here? Why is it getting sidelined by so many things? And if it is not favorable for your pursuing the goal, then you have to take hard decisions. Whether I'm a fit man to be in this atmosphere, or is it more favorable for me to practice in a different atmosphere? You have to take such decisions. Otherwise you will not progress. If you don't progress, I can guarantee you the society will not progress. Anything else? Tell me the cutoff time, 9:18. I think over, last. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the main reason behind one try to justify is that he thinks that maybe the person is not, thinks that he is not very serious in Krishna consciousness. That's why sometimes I try to justify, because the other person thinks that I'm not very much serious in Krishna consciousness.
That you are not very serious. So his assessment of you is not right in your opinion.
Yes. So how to get rid of this tendency, like insecurity?
The problem is that we want everybody to understand us, but we are not interested to understand others. That is the problem. Isn't it? That is the problem. As much as you want him to understand, he also wants you to understand him. You know, it should be both sides, na? It's not that, no, I just know. You don't know what kind of situation that I'm going through. He's also saying same thing. In Telugu, they say, tabla vachi maddilto morabettukundani. Something like that. Tabla you only beat on one side. But the person whom you are complaining, he is beaten on both sides. That is the situation many times that we end up in. So don't think that whatever you say is the only thing. Hear from the other person also. There may be a point, especially when the person is a superior, he's a more experienced man, he may have more things to say. So give a patient hearing. It's nice. Thank you all very much for patiently tolerating me for this long. Hope to see you again after some time. Please forgive me if I have caused any hurt feelings to anyone. Generally, I am very, very much known as a straightforward person. Because of that, many people get hurt. With folded hands, I will seek your forgiveness. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ram Ram